World Series, Yankees at Dodgers. You ready to dive in? We're not just talking about the game itself. We're going deeper, looking at the betting landscape and trying to figure out, if we can find an edge.
An edge is always good.
So we've got data breakdowns from TeamRankings.com, predictions and odds from Fox Sports and Bettors Insider. Plus, we'll hear what the experts at VSIs and DraftKings have to say.
A lot to unpack.
Yeah, a lot of info to sort through. We're going to be looking at some things like Gerrit Cole's strikeout over-under.
Yeah.
And the Dodgers, they've got a really impressive win rate as favorites. So is Vegas really all-knowing? That's what we want to find out.
Good question.
We're lucky to have with us a true stats expert who's going to help us make sense of all this and hopefully find some winners.
Glad to be here. World Series is always exciting, and hopefully, we can turn that excitement into some profit.
All right, so first things first, set the scene for us. How'd these teams get here, and what can we learn from history?
Well, the Dodgers, they actually had a slightly better regular season record than the Yankees. They finished with a .607 win percentage.
Okay.
Compared to the Yankees' .591.
So a slight edge to the Dodgers.
Slight edge, yeah. But Yankees fans, don't despair just yet.
Okay, there's hope.
Because historically, the Yankees have actually dominated the Dodgers in the World Series.
Really?
They've won 8 out of 11 meetings. Although, gotta say, their last World Series matchup was way back in 1981.
1981, wow. That is going back a bit.
That's before my time, even.
Yeah, before mine, too. But so I guess it's ancient history, but still relevant.
Oh, absolutely. Plus, you can't just ignore the Dodgers' home field advantage. I mean, they have a 52-29 record at Dodger Stadium this year.
Okay, so their home stadium is definitely a factor.
Tough place to play, yeah.
Okay, so let's get into some of this data we've got from TeamRankings.com. What jumped out at you?
Well, one of the most interesting things I saw was that both teams average almost the exact same number of home runs per game.
No way.
Yeah, 1.46 each.
So they're even on home runs.
They're even, despite having really different offensive styles, like how they get there is different, but they end up with the same result.
Interesting. Okay, so both teams can clearly hit for power.
Yeah.
Are there any other areas where they're kind of closely matched?
Statistically, yeah, they're surprisingly even. The Dodgers, they have a slight edge. Like if you look at batting average, slugging percentage, on base plus slugging, they're a little bit ahead there.
Okay.
But the Yankees, they're really good at winning close games.
Yeah, that's classic Yankees, right? They know how to thrive under pressure.
Absolutely.
Anything else stand out to you in that data?
Oh, something that caught my eye is the Dodgers, they're really good at turning double plays.
Okay.
And that could be a problem for the Yankees if they can't figure out a way to avoid those double plays.
Yeah, that could really kill their momentum.
It could, yeah.
Okay, so we've got this kind of strategic battle brewing already. Now, what are the odds makers saying about Game 1 specifically?
Okay, so for Game 1, the Dodgers are favored by 1.5 runs. The money line is Dodgers medical 130, Yankees plus 110. And the over-under is set at 8.5 runs.
So a slight edge to the Dodgers, but not a huge favorite, right?
No, not a blowout. It's going to be a good one.
Okay. So what does that actually translate to in terms of win probability based on those odds?
Well, if you look at Fox Sports, based on those odds, they're giving the Dodgers a 56.5% chance of winning.
Okay, so just over 50%.
Yeah, but here's where it gets interesting. The Yankees, they actually have a 74.1% win rate as underdogs this season.
Oh, that's a big difference. So is Vegas maybe underestimating the Yankees?
That's a great question. We've got historical trends pointing in one direction. We've got current data pointing in another. It's what makes this matchup so interesting.
Yeah, definitely a tough one to call.
It is.
Okay, let's talk about the pitching duel we've got set up. Gerrit Cole for the Yankees, Jack Flaherty for the Dodgers, both big names, but their postseason stories are kind of different.
Yeah, really different. So Cole, he's been Mr. Reliable in the playoffs, 3.31 ERA. He's known for pitching deep into games.
Yeah, workhorse.
His strikeout over-under for Game 1 is 4.5, and the over is at -140.
So Vegas is expecting him to rack up those strikeouts. What about Flaherty?
Flaherty, he's had a tougher time in the postseason, 7.04 ERA. And his strikeout over-under is also 4.5, but the over on that is set at -155. So there's a little bit more volatility there.
So Flaherty's a little bit of a wild card. Do you think the Dodgers bullpen might have to be ready for a busy night if he falters?
Oh, for sure. If he doesn't find his rhythm early, Dodgers bullpen is going to have to step up, and that could really change the game.
Absolutely. Okay, and let's not forget about the hitters, right? We've got offensive powerhouses on both sides here.
Oh, yeah, some heavy hitters.
Yeah.
So, Yankees have Aaron Judge, Juan Soto, Giancarlo Stanton, and Stanton has been on fire this October.
Yeah, he's been hot. And then the Dodgers, they've got Shohei Ohtani, who's leading in batting average, home runs, RBIs. And, they've got Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, Teoscar Hernandez. It's a scary lineup.
It's a clash of titans for sure.
Yeah, so with pitching, hitting, everything kind of this closely matched, do you think this game could just come down to who gets hot at the right moment?
I think that's a very real possibility. Yeah, someone's got to step up.
Okay, well, before we get too lost in hypotheticals, let's see what the experts are actually saying.
Yeah, good idea. So Adam Burke from VSN, he's predicting Gerrit Cole is going to give up more than 4.5 hits.
Interesting, considering his playoff performance.
Yeah, so that's a little bit of a contrarian take.
Okay. What about the over-under? Any predictions on that?
Steve Buchanan from DraftKings, he's leaning towards the over at 8.5 runs. Thinks we'll see some offensive fireworks. Fox Sports, they're calling for a 5-4 Dodgers win, which, just barely covers the spread.
Okay, so we've got some different opinions here. Some leaning towards a high-scoring game, others are a little bit more cautious. What's your take?
It's tough to say definitively. Burke's take on Cole is interesting because the Dodgers lineup, they can make even the best pitchers look human.
Yeah, for sure.
But the over-under, I think that really hinges on Flaherty's performance.
Yeah, he's definitely the X factor.
He is.
Okay, so we've got the expert opinions, but what about the bettors themselves? What are they saying?
Bettor's Insider, they have a bit of a surprising pick. They're going with the Yankees' money line at plus 105.
Wow, that's a bold call considering the Dodgers' home field advantage. Why are they going against the grain like that?
Well, they're putting their faith in Cole's consistency. They're banking on Flaherty's struggles to continue.
Yeah.
And they're also suggesting to, maybe consider the over on the runs because, with Flaherty, there's potential for some early offense against him.
Okay, so that's a high-risk, high-reward kind of play.
It is, yeah.
Are you leaning towards that as well?
Well, I'm not going to reveal my hand just yet. But we'll unpack all of these factors even further when we come back for part 2 of our deep dive.
Okay, love the suspense. Stay tuned, everyone. We'll be right back to see if we can find an edge in this World Series matchup. All right, we're back and ready to keep digging into Game 1 of this World Series. Yankees versus Dodgers, high stakes, and we've laid a lot of the groundwork right. We've talked about historical trends, we've looked at those key matchups, and heard what the experts have to say.
We've got a lot of info. Now it's time to see if we can, really pull something useful out of it.
Exactly. Dig a little deeper, see what's hiding beneath the surface.
Exactly.
So let's start with that 1.5 run spread favoring the Dodgers. What do you make of that?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. So they've been dominant at home, no doubt.
They have.
But they haven't really been blowing teams out consistently.
So are we maybe buying into the hype a little too much?
Well, it's possible. If you look at their average margin of victory at home, it's just under 2 runs. So that 1.5 run spread, it's right on the edge of, their typical performance.
So Vegas is predicting a close game, even with that home field advantage.
Yeah, seems that way.
Okay, let's talk about that 8.5 over-under. Yeah, both teams have some really strong offenses. Are we likely to hit that mark?
All right, so here's where it gets a little tricky. The Dodgers, they've averaged just over 5 runs per game at home.
Okay.
And the Yankees have averaged just over 5 runs on the road. So you add those together, it seems like, yeah, we're hitting the over.
Yeah, it seems like simple math.
But hold on, we can't forget about the playoffs. It's a whole different animal.
Right, totally different.
Pitching tends to dominate in October.
Yeah, everything gets tighter, less margin for error.
Absolutely. Plus, we're talking about, both teams are going to be throwing their aces.
Yeah, of course.
That's going to probably suppress those offensive numbers a little bit.
Right, so we're not just doing basic addition here. What other factors should we be thinking about when we're looking at that over-under?
Well, you've got to consider Flaherty's inconsistency in the playoffs. That's a big one. If he has a rough outing, the Dodgers bullpen is going to get tested early, which could lead to, more runs for the Yankees.
And of course, Cole, on the other hand, he's known for pitching those long games.
Yeah.
So if he's shutting down the Dodgers, we could see a pretty low-scoring game.
It's a possibility. Cole's ability to eat those innings, it's huge for the Yankees. It takes pressure off their bullpen, which has had some, shaky moments.
Okay, so those pitching matchups are really key for this over-under.
Yeah.
Anything else we should be looking at?
Well, what about those player props? Remember we were talking about Cole's strikeout over-under?
Yeah, set at 4.5, right?
Yep. Historically, he's well above that. Strikeout machine.
Regular season and playoffs.
Yeah, but there's a catch. The Dodgers, they have a very disciplined lineup. They don't strike out as much as some other teams.
Okay, so Cole might not be as dominant in this matchup. Is that maybe why the odds for the over are Medico 40?
That's a big part of it, yeah. Vegas still favors him to hit that mark, but it's not, a sure thing.
Makes sense. Any other player props that jump out at you?
Ohtani's total bases prop is an interesting one. The over-under is set at 1.5.
Which seems low for a guy who hits as many home runs as he does.
Right. He's a home run threat every time he's up.
He is.
But the odds for the over on his total bases are really tempting, plus 115. So Vegas seems to think that Cole might keep him in check.
Okay, so a potential value bet if you believe in Ohtani's power and you think he's going to break out in Game 1.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those bets that could pay off big if you're willing to go against the grain a little bit.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've looked at the spread, the over-under, those player props. What's next in our deep dive?
Well, there are some advanced metrics and betting strategies that we haven't even touched on yet. And, I'd love to challenge some of that conventional wisdom a bit more, see if we can find those hidden opportunities.
I'm all about finding hidden opportunities. All right, everyone, stick with us. We'll be right back to continue our deep dive into Game 1 of the World Series. We're back for the final stretch of our deep dive, Game 1 of the World Series. And it's decision time, folks. But before we get to making any bets, there's something that's been kind of nagging at me, this whole home field advantage thing.
I get it. Yeah, we've been talking about Dodger Stadium like it's this unbeatable fortress, but...
Yeah, but is it really? Are we maybe overestimating that impact a little?
I think it's worth considering. I mean, if you look at the numbers, the Yankees, they've actually been a better road team this year than the Dodgers have been a home team.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I hadn't even thought about it like that.
Yeah.
So Dodger Stadium might not be quite as intimidating for them.
Exactly. Plus the Yankees, they've actually won their last 3 games against the Dodgers, and those were all played in L.A.
Interesting. Okay, so maybe this whole home field advantage is giving the Dodgers a little more credit than they deserve.
I think it's possible. And it might explain why Bettor's Insider is so high on the Yankees.
Yeah. Okay, so they're seeing an opportunity that maybe other people are missing.
Yeah, they're not letting that hype cloud their judgment.
I like it. Okay, so if we're rethinking this whole home field advantage thing, what else should we be keeping in mind before we place those bets?
I think it comes back to understanding the difference between public perception and actual data. Right now, the public, they love the Dodgers.
Yeah, they're the favorites.
But the data tells a more nuanced story.
Right, we talked about how statistically close these teams actually are.
Yeah.
And we've got Flaherty and his inconsistency kind of looming over everything.
He's the X factor for sure.
He is. So the question is, do we follow the crowd or do we trust our own analysis?
That's the big decision, right?
It is, and there's no easy answer. That's part of what makes betting so exciting.
Exactly. You got to weigh the risks and the rewards. And that's really what we're trying to do with these deep dives. We're trying to give you the information you need to make informed decisions.
Whether you're a seasoned pro or you just want to add a little extra excitement to the game.
Yeah, have a little skin in the game. But always bet responsibly. Most importantly, enjoy the game.
Couldn't agree more. Well, folks, that's a wrap on our Game 1 deep dive. We covered everything from historical trends to those player props. We challenged some conventional wisdom, and hopefully we've helped you spot some hidden opportunities.
I think we did. But one last thought before we go. We keep saying Vegas usually gets it right, so why are they seemingly underestimating the Yankees? What's that telling us about how public perception maybe doesn't quite line up with the actual data?
That's a really good question. Something to think about. And we'll be back with more deep dives throughout the World Series, so stay tuned, and good luck with your bets.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Oh, this you crazy mother...